Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About, a program put together by Trinity United Church, Legon, to discuss issues that bother each and every one of us. We are on YouTube and Facebook. The link always is Trinity United Church, Legon. Today we're talking about prospering in health. And that's the reason we have, to my left, Dr. Veronica Korte. She is a nutritionist with the Ghana Health Service, the headquarters. And then also, Dr. Levina Jima. She's a psychiatrist, presently with the Pantan Hospital. Veronica and Levina, you are very much welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Now, when we talk about health, for us lay people, we know when you are not sick, when you are not well, that's when you are healthy.
Yes.
But you doctors have a definition for being healthy. If maybe Dr. Levina can start with us.
Okay, so when we say health is a complete state of physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being, and not just the absence of a disease or infirmity. So the fact that you are not ill may not necessarily mean that you are healthy or you have good health. And as we have seen, there are several components which we will take time to go through during this discussion: physically, socially, mentally, and spiritually. So all these components are important.
Now, Veronica, Dr. Veronica Korte, you are a nutritionist. What role does nutrition play in our good health?
Nutrition is very key to health, because what you eat, to a large extent, determines who you are. So when you eat healthy, then you are boosting your immunity, you are boosting your mood, and then you are giving yourself energy to go about your daily activities. Secondly, when you eat healthy, then you are preventing most of the chronic diseases that affect us probably later in life. And we are seeing a lot of diabetes, we are seeing a lot of hypertension, we are seeing a lot of obesity. All these are linked somehow to good nutrition. Then also, eating healthy impacts on generations. So eating healthy means that we are creating a healthy generation so that we break the intergenerational cycle of malnutrition in our country. And in Ghana, we see a lot of malnutrition among children under 5, and also in women and in some men.
So when you talk about malnutrition, what exactly, what's the range of view that is on that issue?
When we talk about malnutrition, we are talking about ill consequences of having not eating well. So when you don't eat well over a period of time, your body shows some signs. And that is what we go to the physical well-being, because then you show some signs of not being well. For instance, in children, sometimes we say they are stunted. That means that the child is not able to grow to the height that he should attain for his age. So we see that the child becomes short. And in Ghana, about 10 to 20% of children in Ghana are stunted, depending on the region from which they are coming from.
Really?
Yes. Then we have wasting, where the child is too thin for the height. And then also we have obesity, where the child may be too fat. And we see a lot of obesity in Ghana now, and we are having increasing trends of obesity due to change in lifestyle. So our eating patterns have changed, our way of doing things have changed. We are now more sedentary, we ride in cars, we use machines to do things, and our children sit home playing with phones and video games, and they don't do a lot of exercise. And these are impacting on their nutritional status.
We'll get to some of the details.
Yes.
But let me go to Dr. Levina Jima. You are a psychiatrist.
Yes.
There are sometimes things bother us, and we do not we do not talk to the professionals about it. Because sometimes something that bothers on your mind so much, if you ever went to a psychiatrist to talk about it, people who got to know that you went there might think that I probably were about that. Is that not the case sometimes?
Yes. So mental health has suffered, or it still suffers, a lot of stigma, because as a people, we cannot seem to understand that the brain or the brain is also a very important part of the body and can also have challenges. Just as you may have a cut on your leg or your hand, the brain can also suffer injuries, but we may not see with our naked eyes. And so people are not able to accept that it might function in a way that may not be appropriate, or it may affect the way we think, the way we behave, or the way we feel, which may show itself in several ways. And so it's important that as we will go to the hospital to have our blood pressure checked, we should also be in a position when we need professional help to assess it, because it's also a very, very important part of our health. And our mental health would affect our physical health, would affect the way we socialize, our social well-being, and even our spiritual well-being. And so it would even affect the way maybe we choose the food we eat and predispose us to ill health. And so it is so very important.
Now, mentioning nutrition, I'll come back to Dr. Veronica Corte. Now, you mentioned some of the things that early on, before the discussion now, as we're doing, you mentioned, is it 4 points?
Yes.
Do you call it 4 points?
Yes, I mentioned...
4-star points?
4-star diet.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you can take us into that.
Yes. I mentioned that good nutrition means that you have to eat healthy. And eating healthy starts with eating a variety of foods. Yes. So eating a variety of foods also means that you are eating from 4 key food groups area. And the first one is the staple, which is usually the starchy part of the food. So in Ghana, when we say we are going to eat, we mention the staple first. So we say, I'm going to eat bankum, or fufu, yam, or fufu. Yes, so the cassava or the plantain or the maize forms the staple. Then that gives you your star 1. Then we move to the second group, which is the animal products. So from the animal products, you have your fish, your meat, eggs, milk, crabs, snails. They are all part of the animal product. So you also choose from the animal products, any one of your liking, and then you add to the staple. So that gives you 2-star. Then you move on to your nuts and legumes. So your beans and your nuts, groundnut, agushi, neri, they are also in one group. So you pick something from there, you add to the already 2 that you have picked, and then you get your third. So you can
just pick 1 from 1-star group?
Yes, but you have to make sure you pick 1 or more, at least 1.
Okay.
Yes, depending on the dish that you are preparing, you may need to pick more than 1 from each group. But you make sure that you are picking something from each of the groups. So the 4th group will be your fruits and vegetables. Then you also pick from there and add. So then you have picked from all the 4 groups, and when you prepare a meal from the food stuff that you have picked, you say you have a 4-star meal. Yes. But it is important that even if you are not able to, at a sitting, eat from all the 4 groups, across the day, from morning to evening, you should make an effort to eat from each of the 4 groups. And that is what we say, that then you are having a 4-star diet. Yes.
Is that the same as the balanced diet that we often know?
Yes. When you say balanced diet, it's very difficult to explain the concept. But when you say a 4-star diet, the way I have explained it, it is easier to understand. Yes. But then when we also say a balanced diet, one thing we must know is that individuals may have different needs depending on their physiological status or their health status. But generally, for the general population who is healthy, eating from these groups are what is recommended. It's what is recommended, yes. we also have to make conscious effort to reduce our sugar intake. Yes, because too much sugar is not good for our health. It interferes with our immunity, and it creates a lot of inflammatory situations.
So what are the levels of sugars that we should take in a day?
Ideally, I cannot say that take 1 teaspoonful or 2 teaspoonfuls of sugar.
At the end of the day.
But at the end of the day, what you are aiming at is, you are aiming at taking as little sugar as possible. So the aim is, we are all at different levels now of sugar intake. So if you put 2 teaspoonfuls of sugar in your coffee or your Milo or your tea, can you start by reducing it to maybe 1 teaspoonful? And then gradually you see that your taste buds will get used to it, then you will reduce it. Ideally, we will want to take no added sugar across the day, no added sugar. So naturally, our fruits come with some sugar inside. So you can eat your fruit and you get your sweet tooth satisfied. But you may not want to be adding too much sugar to your beverages. Also, you may not want to be buying too many fizzy drinks or sodas. Yes. So instead of buying fizzy drinks, you prepare homemade juices and then you drink to replace the fizzy drinks. And that also applies to our children.
So you can get an orange for a day squeeze if you have a squeezer.
Yes.
Or depending on how manageable it is, you can even squeeze it yourself.
Yeah.
And then drink. You think that one is very recommendable?
Yes. If you want to drink a juice, then it is better to buy your oranges or your watermelon and then juice it at home. But it is more important to eat the whole fruit because then you get the fiber, which is very, very important for our gut health. Yes.
Gut health, what does that mean?
Health of our digestive system.
Okay, okay. We are lay people, so some of the things we have to find out from you doctors,
Yes.
what is right place. Now, Dr. Livina Jima, one must have done all the 4 points.
Yes.
But you realize as a psychiatrist that you are eating, well, let me put it this way, well. But somehow, some things are not going on well with you in your mind.
Okay.
What could be the cause?
So it could be from a number of reasons. And we should understand that primarily your mental health is affected by your physical health. So your physical health affects your mental health. So it's important that we ensure that we are healthy through and through. Our diet is important. Exercise is important. We also need to know who we are as a people. What are we predisposed to? So your family line, do they have diabetes? Do they have hypertension, asthma? Any other condition that can be passed on to you as an individual because of who, the family that you come from, who your parents are, who your grandparents are. Knowing all this, is important that we undertake routine medical checkup. So this month is a cervical cancer awareness screening. So ideally, every woman of reproductive age should have, or sexually active person should have a cervical cancer screening. If you are a man, your prostate after 40 years, you need to check. And all these things are important so that when something goes wrong, as early as possible, we identify and manage it. And that goes for everyone, even from children right down to the elderly. It's important that we institute this kind of lifestyle in us. It could be a family thing where a family decides that for this month or maybe on your birthday, we ensure that you have a thorough screening that is appropriate for your age as you discuss with your primary care physician. All of these contribute to our mental well-being in the sense that when all is well with you, you have the sound mind to live healthy and well and a fulfilled life. When we are not settled or worried about things, either you are physically unwell. So if you are told that, oh, suddenly you have developed diabetes, you will think and think and think and worry about all the changes that is going to happen in your life. At that point in time, you will not be mentally well because of the worries. And so it's important that we appreciate the totality of the health that an individual needs to enjoy and take care of every one of them so that when we say we are well indeed. coming back to mental health, it's important that, as we have said, we go for physical checkup. We also go for mental checkup.
We go for mental checkup.
Yes.
That's where the problem is. If somebody saw you going to the psychiatrist at the Accra Center, say, hey, Papa, no bodamo.
So that is one of the barriers that we have as a people to seeking good health. It should be okay, and we should come to a point where going to have a mental health checkup is as normal and accepted as having your blood pressure checked or having your sugar checked, because your head or your brain is part of the totality of your being. There's no way you can take your head from your body and function. So it is a very important aspect of our life. But unfortunately, stigma and all the barriers robs us of the benefit of this aspect of our health. So it's important we gradually have a conversation to normalize that aspect of our health and get the benefit of having good mental health and health in total.
Dr. Levina, I'll come back to you, especially on the physical exercise.
Okay.
But let me go to Dr. Veronica Korte. Now, at which point in time should we take our nutrition seriously? Is it when we are old, 30 years, 20? So before that, you choose to eat anything, anyhow?
Yes, but before I answer that, I want to go back to the previous discussion that I was having about the intake, the food intake. It is also very important, I talked about sugar, it is also very important to limit our salt intake.
Oh, okay.
Sodium. Actually, when we say salt, we mean sodium, and sodium is in salt. Sometimes we think that food that is salty is what we are talking about. But some foods may not be salty, but they contain a lot of sodium. So we mind the way we buy food from outside. Mm-hmm. And then we read labels on the cans of food that we buy. Usually, most canned foods have too much salt in it. And then eating from outside, they add all these bouillon cubes, which contains a lot of sodium. The noodles that we buy, the condiment that they have added to it also contains a lot of sodium. So you can cook without those condiments. It is very, very important.
Yes.
And also
Doctor, sorry for the
fats.
interruption, but too much sodium, does it add up to increase in your blood pressure?
Yes.
Okay.
It affects your blood pressure. It can affect your kidneys. And especially if your kidneys is not working well, then sodium intake is very, very critical. So to avoid weakening your kidneys so fast and affecting your heart health, it is better to reduce your salt intake as well as your fat intake.
But can you do away with the salt altogether?
If you are not ill, and if you have not been put on a salt-restricted diet or salt-free diet, then it is okay to just reduce your salt. It is okay to just reduce your salt, because sometimes when you are eating, the enjoyment of the food is also very important.
Yeah.
It is part of being...
It makes it tasty.
Yes, it is part of your well-being. If you are eating and you are not enjoying it, you don't get the mood lift that you want to get from the food. So it's good to eat and enjoy the food, but moderation. Mm-hmm. So you have to eat the food that you enjoy, but you make sure that you are doing everything in moderation so that you don't overeat one particular food or you don't excessively use one particular nutrient that may affect your health and well-being. So fat is one of the nutrients that we also have to look at very well when we are choosing our food.
So fat is in which kind of food?
So fat is the oil, the oils we use to cook. Uh-huh. So the oils we use to cook. So you make sure that when you are cooking, you don't add too much oil. Okay. So instead of pouring your oil from the bottle, you can fetch in a tablespoon, maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons, and use it to cook.
So if you are eating gari and beans, for instance.
Yes. So you make sure that
you don't pour the plenty oil onto it.
Yes, you make sure that the zome is not making the thing so wet
because
that you can
see the zome, it's actually the thing is rich, pa.
Yes, it has to be rich, but it has also to be healthy.
Okay.
So you make sure that the food you are eating will not harm your body. It will rather bring goodness to your body. Yes. And then you make sure that you don't fry everything. You make sure that you boil sometimes, most of the time.
But don't overboil.
You boil most of the time. You don't overboil your vegetables.
Okay.
But you cook well your meat and fish.
So can you sometimes steam them?
You can steam.
Okay.
So you can do everything to the food except too much frying and too much grilling. Yes.
I like kelewele a lot. I could eat kelewele every day.
Yes.
So are you suggesting that I don't?
Moderation.
Moderation.
Yes. You eat it once again. But we haven't talked about the how soon we are going to look after for our nutrition.
We'll go to that. Now,
Yes, okay.
we're going for a short break. When we come back, Dr. Veronica Korte,
Yes.
you continue from there. And then from there, I will go to Dr. Levina Jima on the physical exercise.
Yes.
Well, that seems to be a lot of trouble. For people who wake up early to go to work and come back late, how well they should space in their physical, exercise and all that. So we're going for a short break. And you can send your comments or questions to this WhatsApp number. I think it's on your screen. 0501 579996, and social media handles. That's on Facebook and YouTube. Trinity United Church Legon, Facebook and YouTube. We'll be back in a moment.
With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians. With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians. With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon.
You're welcome back. Thank you for your patience just to watch and listen to us on this very important topic of maintaining prospering in health. The reason for which Dr. Veronica Korte, Ghana Health Service, he's a nutritionist, and Dr. Levina Jima, a psychiatrist with the Bantan Hospital, are here with us. The link always is Trinity United Church Legon, Facebook and YouTube. Once again, thank you very much for maintaining the contact. Now, Dr. Veronica Korte, we said we'll continue from the point where you left off. So if you can continue.
Yes. So we're concerned about how early we should start being critical or concerned about our nutrition. And the answer is that as early as possible. Nutrition starts early. Once you start early, then you are able to regulates and the food you eat. So starting early means that as soon as the child is born, the child must be given breast milk. And we are saying that breast milk should be given within 30 minutes after birth. So the child is started with good nutrition with the breast milk. And that early breast milk contains a lot of nutrients that the child needs. Then the child continues to breastfeed exclusively on the breast milk. That is without any added food until the child is 6 months.
So for 6 months?
For 6 months, the child feeds only breast milk. And that is the best nutrition for that child at that stage. Then after when the child is 6 months, the child is started with the home food that we eat. So the child is given solid foods. And that also is fashioned around the 4-star diet that we mentioned earlier on. So the child is given appropriate, safe, and nutritious complementary foods together with breastfeeding until the child is 2 years old. After 2 years, the child comes to the family food and then eats with the family. Just that the child will be eating more frequently than the adults in the family. When we do this, and I talked about malnutrition, stunting, underweight, obesity, we control it at that early stage. And therefore, by the time the child grows into an adult, there is no possibility of developing what we call the non-communicable diseases. That is the hypertension, diabetes, and the cancers, provided the child continues to build on the foundation that has been given at that early stage. So what we eat at our infancy and early childhood determines our health in future. This is very, very important for us to note that breastfeeding exclusively for 6 months is what is recommended for children, and then nutritious and appropriate complementary feeding starting at 6 months and continuing to breastfeed until 2 years or beyond.
Okay. Thank you so much. Then, Dr. Levina, how well would physical exercise contribute to mental well-being?
Okay. So physical exercise contributes both to mental well-being as well as physical well-being. It does magic, and it's also considered good medicine for us. Exercise boosts our immune system. It improves our mood. It makes us healthy in every way. In addition,
but does it also help in very good blood circulation?
Blood circulation, because you need the blood to flow well. And so it's important that we adopt the culture of exercising frequently. And there are different range of exercise for different age groups. It doesn't mean that you should get to a certain age before you worry about exercise. Just as we have said that nutrition starts from very early, it's important to cultivate the habit of exercising. And exercise can take several forms. Even children playing is good exercise. When they run around the house, they play football, have, good time with each other. And children learn through play as well. For adults, sometimes we are worried about finding a protected time to exercise. But we also know that we can fashion it into our day-to-day activities so that it does not become so rigid. So if you are going to work or you're coming home from work, instead of maybe stopping at your junction, you could stop maybe a junction before and walk the rest of the distance. Whilst at work, maybe your break, instead of sending somebody to go buy you lunch, you could just take a walk to get yourself lunch, and that will be your form of exercise. There are some workplaces that they work exercise into their routine, such that at a certain part of the day, you have the option to go work out and come back. We need to find innovative ways of exercising. It could be just a walk around your neighborhood. It could be a run within your yard if security is an issue. And sometimes we have to make it a family event or a community event where you have maybe a Keep Fit club or a daughter goes with a father, and the company in itself motivates you to undertake the activity without seeing it as a chore or a burden. And that can be a good way to motivate us in doing that.
I was once watching a chief executive officer in an interview on television, and she says this is how she does it. There are about 3 floors to the organization which she heads.
Yes.
And instead of all the time calling people on the phone to come to her office, sometimes she would walk to the offices and deliver messages and have chats with them.
Yes.
And she said that keeps her very,
Healthy.
very alert. Now, she says there are other advantages.
Yes.
You, a CEO, walking to your staff makes them feel good.
Yes.
And oh, the CEO has even walked up to me, talked with me. So I think what you have said, very, very important. Now, let's come back. Oh, do you have something else?
Yes.
To
So
add?
aside what we have talked about, it also improves your mood, the way you feel, reduces your level of anxiety and stress.
Exercise.
Yes. And like you said, if you have to work within the organization, it helps you improve your relationship with others. And so like you were saying that people will feel good that maybe a superior person has walked to their desk. It's also motivation for your staff to improve their productivity. So those are some of the things that we can adopt to ensure that we have routine exercises. There are some people these days, they'll wear a smartwatch that counts the number of steps they have been able to obtain or accrue during the day. So working within the office, working outside, all that also helps them track how well they are doing, such that they make sure they reach a certain target, and they find innovative ways of getting that as ways of getting their needed exercise for the period.
So, Dr. Levina, let me ask this question. How about housewives as they are home? Somebody told me that, no, the housewives, they move out, in, pick things here, bend, stretch over there. And these are all forms of exercises that are not even intentioned, but come out with the same benefits.
Yes.
Is that true?
That's very true. Indeed, we say housewives are not employed, but it's a full-time job. Like you're mentioning, they may go to the kitchen to cook, go to the fridge to pick something, to carry laundry, dry things. All those are physical activities. As much as it's routinely part of what they are doing, they move their bodies and they get their bodies to work. We want a situation where at least you have a dedicated time where you sweat and your heart beats faster than usual, so that we know that you have gotten some optimum. But there are a lot of things that they may be doing, even though it is routinely part of their work, but that gets their body working. It's important that they also have some level of protected time to ensure that they sweat while doing these activities. But half the time they do that. They may be running up and down to catch maybe food that is about to get bent, or it's raining, they pick things off the line. They do a lot of those activities. So that's also part of getting them to be active.
Thank you so much. Dr. Veronica Korte, has water got anything to do with nutrition and how well it can prosper us in health?
Yes, water is very, very important to our health. In fact, our body contains so much water, and water is used to undertake most of the processes that goes on within our body. So keeping hydrated, that is drinking enough water, it's one of the key things that we as nutritionists advocate. It is very, very important to have water with you all the time and to keep drinking the water. You don't need to wait until you are thirsty before you drink. So you have fresh, clean water and you drink as and when you see it. Actually, that is what I do. I keep a bottle of water with me. Anytime I see the bottle, I just take a sip.
Yeah.
Anytime I see the bottle, I take a sip. And that is what is recommended. So it is recommended that throughout the day, if you don't drink at all, you take 8 glasses of water.
Average glass.
Average glass. And that comes to about 2 liters.
Mm-hmm.
And
2 liters will be like
just
the mineral water bottle, too.
Yeah, the 2 liters is about 4 of the sachets.
Okay.
or 4 of the small bottled waters.
Okay.
That is the minimum if you don't drink at all. Of course, if you have a condition where you have been told that you don't have to drink a lot of fluids, and that in that case, they will tell you how much water and other fluids you need to drink in the day, then you stick to what your doctor has told you. But if you are a healthy adult and you don't have any such condition, then you make sure you drink the minimum of the 2 liters a day. And when we say you drink water, we mean water. Some people say that, oh, me, I don't like water. Say Coca-Cola is also a fluid. So they drink Coca-Cola or they drink other fluids. So when you drink Coca-Cola, you are not just drinking water, but you are drinking lots of sugar in addition to the water. Yes, and water is fresh, water is clean, and it's needed by the body. So it's good to drink fresh, clean water. And one of the advice I give people, and like I said earlier on, sometimes it's good to invest in a small, beautiful water bottle and carry it along, psychedelic. So you'll be sipping from it. It's a motivation. But then if you don't even have that, make sure that you make conscious effort that you are drinking adequate amount of fresh water every day.
So in effect, without enough water in your body, you are prone to certain illnesses and diseases.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, it is true.
And then, secondly, I'm told that when your urine is so colorful, it's an indication that you aren't drinking enough water. Is that also true?
Yes. In fact, normal urine should be what we call amber. It's not yellow. It's not also white. It's slightly, maybe colorless with a tint of yellow inside. Very, very light. If your urine is more concentrated, then it will have a deeper color. And then if you urinate and you see that your urine is clearly very, very deep or deeper than the amber color we are talking about, then it means you are not drinking enough
water.
However, sometimes when we take some medications, those could color our urine. Yes, but you should make sure that you are passing enough urine throughout the day. So if you are not passing enough urine, you usually, maybe the whole day you go about and you urinate just once, and that urine is very concentrated, then it's likely you are not having adequate intake of fluids and water for that matter.
Some people say, well, I don't feel like taking water. It's only when I feel like taking water, that's when I take. Is that a good enough reason for not taking enough water?
No, it is not a good enough reason. And like everything, we cultivate habits. We make efforts. So if you know that you must drink this amount of water within the day, then you make conscious effort. And it is very important not to wait and feel thirsty before. Because if you feel thirsty, then it means that your body has reached a level where it is alerting you that it is getting dehydrated. Yes, so you don't need to wait and feel thirsty. That is why I say that it's good to be sipping water regularly, drinking small amounts of water regularly throughout the day, making sure that by the end of the day you have drunk your minimum of the 8 glasses or the 2 liters.
Thank you so much, Dr. Veronica Korte. And Elvina, before we go for the break, has also water got something to do with our mental health, good mental health, intake of water?
Yes, so water is good for our health generally. And yes, our body should not be dehydrated. That is losing a lot of water. Because when that happens, it does affect our mental well-being as well, as it affects our physical well-being. So water is good for us, and we should cultivate. And I think with everything else, whether it's our nutrition, whether it's exercise, whether it's having routine checkups, we need to be intentional about it. We need to be intentional about drinking water because it's important to us, and it's a habit that we need to cultivate and ensure that it's part of our lifestyle.
Yeah, because I realized that after not having enough water in your system, if you ever drank water, you are so refreshed. And sometimes it gives you a kind of freshen up brain. You're able to attend to issues as you are supposed to do and all that. So the point about having good enough intake of water cannot be overemphasized. Now, we're going to have a short break, but after that, or before, you can still send in your questions to 05015799996 on WhatsApp and YouTube. We'll be back in a moment.
And let's talk about life as Christians. With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians. With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About, a digital television program by Trinity United Church Legon to discuss issues that help all of us. And today we have Dr. Veronica Quarty, a nutritionist with the Ghana Health Service, the headquarters itself, as well as Dr. Levina Jima, a psychiatrist with the Pantan Hospital. Now, the questions are coming up. The first one is by Alice. You mentioned control of sugar. Don't we get sugar from the carbohydrates we eat? How do we moderate the two? I think Dr. Veronica Quarty will look at that.
Yes. Thank you, Alice, for your question. Yes, you are right. Carbohydrates give us sugar upon digestion. But because carbohydrates are complex sugars, they need to be digested in our body before they turn into sugar. And this takes a while. So the carbohydrates are digested slowly, and the sugar moves into our bloodstream slowly. When we add sugar to our food, that is refined sugar to our food, because it is refined sugar, it doesn't need much digestion. So it moves straight into our bloodstream. So we get a condition where there is sugar hike or too much sugar in our bloodstream at a time. So when you are eating carbohydrates, you get the sugar released gradually. And of course, you need to moderate the carbohydrates you have to eat. So ideally, the size of your kenke or your banku or your mocho should be just about your fist.
Oh, really?
Yes, it should be just about your fist.
So if it's
if it is fufu, it should be, Uncle Ben, your fufu should be just about the size of your fist. And then banku, and then you have to add your soup or your stew to compensate for the rest. So you eat a lot of the soup so that you feel satisfied. Yes. So Alice, that is the explanation to that.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
There's another. Thank you very much, Dr. Veronica Quarty. Question by Kenneth. Comparing the eating of the fruit itself and using it, which one is healthier?
Yes. Eating the fruit itself is healthier, because in that you are eating the juices in the fruit together with the fiber content of the fruit. So you get both goodness. when you juice the food, it's most likely that you just take the juice and throw away the fiber. But also, juicing is also good sometimes, because sometimes, for instance, for a child who may not be able to eat the entire fruit, then the juice will be okay. And then sometimes you just need something to refresh yourself. You may want to take a fruit juice to refresh yourself. But the fruit juice that you take should not have added sugar. So if it is watermelon you are juicing, you just blend the whole watermelon and then you drink it. It's good not to even strain or sieve it and drink it without added sugar. Or you make sure that when you are buying juices without added sugar. And you need to read the labels of the juices you are buying. Unfortunately, industry sometimes is a little tricky. You may get a fruit that says no added sugar, but in actual fact, there may be sugar. So it's good to juice your fruit at home and enjoy it, but it's more important to eat your fruit whole as much as possible.
It looks like we are getting more questions on the nutrition aspect, but we can also ask questions about our mental health. And Dr. Levina Jima will look at that. Now, a question by Elom. I hear some fast food contain high levels of sodium, MSG. I don't know what the MSG is.
Monosodium glutamate.
Oh, monosodium glutamate.
Yes.
Now, can this be true? And is it true? And if it is true, no. And is it true? It's not good for our health?
Yes, like I said earlier on, so too much sodium is not good for our health. And monosodium glutamate contains sodium. Unfortunately, because it is monosodium, it contains more sodium than the ordinary salt that we're using. So, because that one doesn't take salty, most of the time it's a little sweeter. I don't know what word to use, but it tastes a little sweeter than the ordinary salt. So people think it is not salt, yes, but it contains a lot of salt. And unfortunately, fast food joints actually use a lot of the monosodium glutamate because they want the food to taste very well. People like the taste of monosodium glutamate. And so they add a lot of monosodium glutamate, and in the end, the food may contain too much of the monosodium glutamate. But we cannot say this for all fast food joints. We cannot say this because we have not done a research to say that whether all food joints are that. But there are some places where you may know that the food that they provide there is healthier, it's a little less salty. Occasionally, you may go there and have a treat to yourself. But ideally, it is good to cook at home and eat at home as much as possible, where you can use ginger, you can use garlic, you can use other herbs to flavor your food rather than the monosodium glutamate or even common salt that we like using.
Thank you very much, Veronica. There's a question by Vida Kwaponekufu. Speaking of the 4-star diet, will cooked vegetables be adequate, or should we necessarily have fresh fruits and vegetables before we fulfill, in quotes, the 4 stars for the day?
Okay. Fruits and vegetables are in one group, so they make 1 star. So if you have a vegetable together with your food, you have satisfied that star. But it is also important for us to know that every food item comes with its own array of nutrients. So it is very important to vary within the group as we vary amongst the group. So if you eat fruits all the time without vegetables, you may not be satisfying your nutrition needs very well. You have to be combining fruits and vegetables. So you may eat some vegetables in the morning, you have to eat some fruit along the way. And there are a number of servings that you need to eat. So between 3 to 5 servings in a day, and it must comprise both fruits and vegetables.
And this is my own question. The fruit, do you have to eat them before your meals or after? Which is best?
In fact, I tell people that what is important is that you are eating a meal. So it is a meal. Either you eat it before or after does not really matter.
Okay.
It depends on what you like. But people, ideally, it is suggested that you eat your fruits before the main meal. Or you eat your vegetables, which is, if you are eating a salad, you eat your salad before the main meal. The reason being is that, especially when you are doing weight control, you don't want to eat too much. Because fruits and vegetables don't have a lot of calories, what we call calories, the one that will make you grow fat. They don't have a lot of calories, and they are bulky. When you eat those ones first, it occupies space. And therefore, you don't eat too much of the actual food that will make you grow fat.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it put some kind of stress or pressure on your digestive system?
No, please.
It doesn't?
No, it doesn't.
Good,
Yes.
good. Now, yes, there's a question now for Dr. Levina Jima. Does anxiety or worry make us feel like hungry sometimes? And is it true hunger or just our minds?
Thank you, Kojo, for the question. When somebody is anxious or was worried, most of the time they may complain of symptoms such as feeling lightheaded. And in other settings, when you have low sugar or you haven't eaten enough, you may also feel lightheaded. But commonly, anxiety will not make you have symptoms of, let's say, feeling hungry. Most people will complain of having a tummy upset or the desire to use the washroom or feeling excessively worried, sweaty, sometimes feeling lightheaded or feeling that their legs cannot carry them or that something bad is going to happen. Yes.
Very good. And this is Ifia Abrahams. She says Trinity, and the response is one God. Dr. Jima, can we just walk into the clinic and request to have a mental state examination or checkup?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abrahams. And certainly, and that is what we want to advocate, because now we are practicing integrated health care. So wherever health care is provided, we are saying that you should be able to have a basic level of mental health care at that place. So if you go to your primary care physician, any health facility, you should be able to get the medical person there to at least provide a certain basic mental health care. And that would include just walking in to have a checkup, which may be they're asking you a few questions about how you feel.
Does it come with a cost, at a cost?
Obviously, once you walk into a clinic, if it's not a free health screening or a corporate service that is catered for, it may come at a cost.
Okay.
So, yes.
Right. Now, what's this Vida Kwapon Akufo with a question. What's the relationship between binge eating and mental health, if any? I think, Dr. Levina,
Yes.
you might have to look at that.
So, binge eating may be a symptom of a mental illness.
Please, what is binge eating? I don't know
So
about
people would eat large volumes
Okay.
of food at a time. That is binge eating.
Okay.
It may be a symptom of a mental illness where people eat large volumes and at the end of the day they feel guilty about it. They don't want to gain that much weight from the eating, and so they may induce vomiting and vomit the food. And it's a continuum of this practice over a period of time. We call that bulimia. So it could be a mental illness.
Okay.
So if somebody is experiencing such symptoms, it's important that they seek professional help for a proper assessment to determine whether it qualifies in that category and the appropriate care given. Thank you.
Oh, the questions are coming up, more of them. Michael Obeng Boafo, please, what foods contain sodium but don't necessarily taste salty? I think Dr. Veronica Corti will look at that.
Yes. So some or most fruits and vegetables and some other foods naturally contain some sodium. So natural foods that contain sodium, you eat them and you may not necessarily taste it as salty. And they are not the type of sodium we are talking about. So if you are a normal, healthy adult who has not been put on a sodium-restricted diet or sodium-free diet, you may eat all these fruits and vegetables that naturally contain sodium. And most fruits and vegetables naturally contain some sodium. The sodium I mentioned earlier on, by saying that the foods may contain sodium but may not taste salty, are foods that are processed. So most often canned foods. So you may get some canned food, for instance, tomato paste. Some tomato paste contains a lot of sodium, a lot of sugar, but when you taste it, you don't taste the sugar and salt inside. Some fast foods, because they use sodium monoglutamate, which necessarily doesn't taste salty, you may not taste the saltiness of the food, but then it contains a lot of sodium. So when you buy food, just look at the nutrition data or the nutrition information on the can. Then you can see the amount of sodium that is contained in that food. But don't just use the taste of the food to determine whether the food contains sodium or not.
And I remember you advised that when it comes to table salt, is
Yes.
that the same as the sodium chloride?
Yes.
You do it in limitation?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And there's one thing we must know when it comes to salt. Is that when you start reducing your salt intake, or even when you stop putting salt in your food, for the first few days, you might not enjoy the food, but your taste buds quickly adjust. So after 1 or 2 weeks, when you start adding salt to your food again, you may not enjoy the salty food again. So it is very easy to reduce salt or to limit salt intake.
Thank you so much. Now, this is Dr. Bridget Gogodakun. When is the best time to have our fruit? Is it before? I think we asked this question. And then, yeah, it's been answered already. God bless you, panelists. We're learning a lot. Thank you, Bridget. And then this is another question by Stephen Agalik. Does natural sugar, like the fruit dates, healthy? And can we substitute that in place of the artificial sugar?
Yes. So natural sugars in fruits are also sugars, but because they come in the fruits, and the fruit comes with other nutrients, so we say that they are not empty calories. So by empty calories, I mean the food comes and all that you get in it is sugar. But if you take, for instance, so if you take Coca-Cola and you drink, and by the way, 1 bottle of Coca-Cola contains about 6 teaspoonfuls of sugar.
Please, can you repeat that?
1 bottle of Coca-Cola contains about 6 teaspoonfuls of sugar. So if you take Coca-Cola and you drink, you are just taking water and sugar. If you take a sweet fruit like watermelon or like the dates, and you eat the dates together with the skin and everything, you are eating some sugar as well as other vitamins as well as fiber. Yes, so yes, it is better to eat your fruit, your sweet fruits, than eating the refined sugar. But then also, knowing that the fruit contains a lot of sugar, you have to eat it in moderation. So you don't just take a big bowl of dates and just start eating because it is fruit. Yes, and especially if you are diabetic or if you are on a sugar-restricted diet or all that, then you must be careful about eating food that contains a lot of sugar, fruit that contains a lot of sugar.
Oh, more questions are coming up. This is from Kingsley Frimpong. And Dr. Livina Jima, you might have to add
Roasting food,
just when
okay.
necessary, okay? Now, please, it seems little, if not nothing, is being said about roasting food. Is that nutritionally beneficial?
When we talk about fat, I think we talked about some of the cooking methods that is beneficial, and roasting is part of it. So roasting food is okay, is beneficial. What we don't want too much of is grilling, because when you grill, then you generate some chemicals within the
Please
food.
explain to us what grilling is.
Grilling is when you like ututunam, you cook the food over an open fire.
Okay.
So like charcoal or firewood or something, and then you'll be turning. So that is grilling. So when you do that, sometimes the wood and the charcoal impart some chemicals to the food, which sometimes, which may be harmful. But when you roast, when you steam, when you boil, and that one is okay. And we are talking also about not frying too much, because then when you fry, you add more fat to the food, and then sometimes you may also, especially when you fry in very hot oil, you may change the nature of the oil, and then it becomes not too good for you.
You must be a prophet, Dr. Veronica Korte, which is an answer what you just said to Vida's question. Thank you, doctors. I'm really enjoying the discussion. Dr. Korte, could you please explain further why grilling is not so great? I know frying is not healthy, but great. But you've tackled it.
Yes.
I just want to.
So grilling is not so healthy because we grill over fire, charcoal and wood, and sometimes this charcoal and wood imparts some chemicals to the food. And then the chemical that is imparted to the food makes the food unhealthy, because it can result in some cancers and other complications. Yes.
I want Dr. Livina Jima to start, and then you, Dr. Veronica Korte, will end on this. I hear banana, this is a question by Salom, has a lot of calories. Does eating too much unhealthy for us? You might have to start, and then Dr.
Okay.
Veronica
So
Korte.
yes, bananas has a lot of calories, and for some people, it gives them a kick. So some people are advised to eat banana for fruit in
First,
the morning.
we said calories are what?
Energy
okay.
giving,
Right,
yes.
okay, so please
and
continue.
so it is healthy for people, for all of us. It gives you a lot of energy, particularly in the morning, to give you a kick to be able to start your day-to-day activities. But in everything, we say moderation. You can't say you consume just bananas, or bananas will be your main source of fruits and vegetables from, picking a star from the 4 stars.
Okay, and then maybe Dr. Veronica Korte might have to still speak on this. Oh, but let's
Yes.
take another question. It's by Akusia Fawcett. Can one become sodium deficient? Any of you?
It's very
Unlikely.
difficult to say that one will become sodium deficient, because like I said earlier on, most of the natural foods we eat contain sodium naturally. So if you are eating a healthy diet without adding extra sodium, it's not likely you will become sodium deficient. Yes.
So, but what does sodium do to our health?
Sodium helps our heart to work well.
Okay.
It helps to balance the electrolytes
Okay.
in our system.
Okay.
So that's what I will say for now.
right.
It's a whole lot of
So it's still, the most important thing is to maintain a balance
yes.
and not overdo it,
Overdo
which
it.
might cause you problem.
To function, our blood vessels, all the
Yes.
membranes in our body, it still serves a very good purpose, but in moderation.
I think, Dr. Livina, you might have to hear this. Steve Doche says the bit about mental health checks is revealing. Me, that's my first time hearing that you could just walk in and ask the doctor to attend to you this way.
Yes.
A lot of us do not know. Now this is the minister in charge of Trinity United Church, Reverend Martin Obeng. Thanks for the information. We have a lot to learn about being healthy, thanks to our host and panel. Very good. Now, question by Alex Opompuku. What food group is honey fruit? Vegetable, protein, carbohydrates, or what? Can it replace sugar? Yes, any of you.
I would
Oh,
differ. It's sugar.
You can start.
Yes.
It's still sugar.
It's still sugar.
Okay.
It's like the natural sugars anyway.
So you don't take any of that and think that you have lowered your sugar level. It's the same sugar. Okay. Now, question by kids.
I want to add to the honey.
Okay.
Yes, so honey is sugar. So you might want to eat honey. Maybe use a little honey to sweeten your tea, but then you don't have to use it excessively. The same way there's a misconception about brown sugar. So people think brown sugar is healthier. So they say don't use sugar. So they think it's white sugar. They buy brown sugar and they are using more of brown sugar because they've learned that brown sugar has added nutrients. Even though it may have a little vitamins more than the white sugar, it is still sugar. And when you eat too much of it, you get the same effect that you get when you eat white sugar.
Okay,
Yes.
Kingsley Frimpong again. Thanks very much, Dr. Korti. So do you recommend the patronage of roasted corn, plantain, and cocoyam or not?
Roasted corn, plantain, and cocoyam are very healthy snacks, which I will recommend. So instead of when you are hungry in the day, midday, you are hungry, you want a snack, the best snack is one of those, roasted yam, roasted cocoyam with plantain, with granules. Instead of buying pie or biscuits, which has a lot of trans fatty acids or a lot of fat and may not be healthy for you. So these are natural, local foods that are good as snacks. Yes.
Remember to drink enough water.
Water.
After
Yes,
that.
after that, yes.
Now, a comment by Edith. It says, thank you for the education on the fact that what we eat or what we feed our children with influences their health when they grow. And I think that's very true.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, hey, another question by Vida Kapong. Grilling in the oven bad too? Is that bad?
Well, I don't know.
Well, she says she doesn't know. Okay.
Grilling in the oven.
In the
yes.
oven.
I cannot answer that.
All right. Yes. Okay. All right. Now, Dr. Levina, you can also answer that.
Well, if I can judge from the fact that if we are grilling over an open fire
fire,
using charcoal, would have maybe chemicals from the charcoal to probably impact other chemicals onto the food that may not be healthy. Oven is a protected space. It is a dry heat. If it doesn't dehydrate the food so much, I guess it should be healthy. But we can still check.
We can still check,
Okay.
yes.
But so grilling here, we're talking about directly onto the charcoal, for instance. But how about if there is something that separates the charcoal from whatever you are grilling?
There's no more grilling.
It's not grilling then. It has to be directly onto the charcoal or whatever. Okay, I'm learning a lot today. All right. So if there are no more questions, can we go back to, what do we call them? The supplements. Sometimes we say we have taken our food supplements, so we think we are okay. Dr. Veronica Korti, do you think we are okay that way?
In fact, the best way to get our nutrients is through eating foods. But I must say that there are some group of people who may need supplement at some point.
Yeah.
And they may need a particular type of supplement, which may be determined by their primary healthcare practitioner, their dietitian, or their pharmacist. So it is very important to contact your primary health care provider if you feel you need a supplement. But then people like pregnant women, they need supplements of iron and folic acid just by virtue of being pregnant, and because their body needs a large quantity of iron and folic acid at that stage. Also in Ghana, research has shown that adolescent girls between the age of 10 and 19, about 48% of them are anemic. And so what the government...
Anemic meaning they don't have
they
enough
don't
blood?
have enough blood.
Okay.
Let's put layman. They don't have enough blood. So what the government is doing now, government of Ghana is doing now, is to supplement every adolescent girl in school or out of school with iron and folic acid. And that is what we call the GIFT program. So by the gifts program, we give every adolescent girl 1 tablet of iron and folic acid every Wednesday.
Is it only for students or people in the community?
Those who are in school get it in school.
Okay.
But those who are in the community are supposed to get to the health center and once a month, and they are given their supply for the month. And they are supposed to take it so that we reduce the levels of anemia in the adolescent girls. Yes.
I was about to ask another question, but let's go back to the questions that people have supplied us with. Ken Annan says, can one replace coconut juice with water? Or any of you can answer.
Coconut juice has its own importance. And for people who are having diarrhea, we would encourage they take coconut juice rather than plain water. But you cannot substitute water for anything else. Water is equally important. So they all have their place, and they are all fluids anyway.
I see. Okay. Now, I don't see any more questions coming up. But we are about to round up. There was one issue. Social well-being. If you
so
can,
social well-being is important. God, even in the Garden of Eden, came down to socialize with man. And so our interactions with each other, with our immediate family, with the larger community is important. So as part of our well-being, it's important that we know our social systems. So being in church, being in school, being at work, interacting with people so that we support each other, that we say as building a social support network so that when we have issues, this social support system will be more or less a cushion, supporting us to get health care, supporting us with other needs in life, which is very important. And so as part of our well-being, it's important socially to contribute to society. So volunteering is a good way. Doing good to others, be your neighbors, other children, people in your community, your workplace. It also, improves your mental well-being. It makes seeing the smile of someone has a rebound effect on you and making you happy or maybe even happier than the person you did good to. So we need to build a social support network as part of being healthy.
Dr. Veronica Kwoti, I saw you looking on your script. Is there something that you want to remind us about?
Yes. What I want to say to viewers is that getting good health requires a whole shift of lifestyle changes. So if we say exercise, it doesn't mean when you finish exercising, you are going to eat a big bowl of salty, fatty food just because you have gone to Keep Fit Club. Or if we say eat well, you eat well because I'm not eating well, I don't need to move around. It is a whole paradigm shift. So you have to eat well and add exercise to it, add weight management to it, not living risky life. In fact, that is one thing we have not talked about. Because even our lifestyle, the way we drive our cars, you drive without your seatbelt on and all that. What is the use in eating well, exercising, only to go and crash your car and then have one of your arm amputated or something? Or living a life that is not even pleasing to God. Promiscuity, too much drinking, and all that. They all affect our health. So it's a mental state where we have to shift from just doing one aspect of healthy living to doing all the lifestyle changes that will make us live healthy. Yes.
Dr. Veronica Kwoti, I think you must have the gift of prophecy or something. You see this question. God said everything he had created is good, so as Christians, why must we worry about what we eat? You've answered it. And then, please, ventilation. How does that contribute to our prospering in good health? Ventilation.
So ventilation is important in ensuring that the air we breathe is healthy. In our COVID times, we have discouraged the use of enclosed spaces and air conditions, and more or less educated on having natural forms of ventilation. So cross ventilation, where we have air moving in and out, bringing in fresh air that has the fresh oxygen that will help our bodies to function well and takes out the carbon dioxide that we breathe. So ventilation is important because we all need that air, clean, healthy, to survive. And I'm sure in COVID times, people have told us how expensive air is when they cannot breathe.
Now, the last question, I believe, is drinking red wine at table good for our health? I think Dr. Cote would look at it.
Some research has said that drinking red wine is good for our heart health. However, red wine is made from red grapes, which is a fruit. So I think eating the fruit will be even healthier because we know that drinking alcohol has negative effects on our body systems. So yes, drinking red wine may be healthy, may help with your heart health, but eating the grapes and other fruits that contains antioxidants, I don't know how to say it, yes, but some vitamins and minerals also help our heart health. So let's dwell on eating the grapes and the fruits rather than thinking so much about drinking wine. And like I said earlier on, if you must drink, then it should not be more than 1 drink in a day for women and 2 drinks in a day for men.
Thank you so much, Dr. Veronica Cote from Ghana Health Service, the headquarters. She indeed is a nutritionist, and Dr. Levina Jima, a psychiatrist with the Pantan Hospital. Thank you very much. And all those who brought in their questions, the viewers, and how you contributed by way of prayer and everything. We have really had a very important discussion this evening regarding our good health, prospering in health. Next week, 7 o'clock Wednesday, is another time, and we'll come your way. Do have a lovely night. Bye.